This summer, the Lord allowed me to take a mission trip from UCLA, the Christian University of the Americas. Moses said in Exodus 33:15, "If thy presence go not with me, carry us not up hence." That was certainly how we felt as we traveled throughout Africa. This is the team that we thought was going to go, and this is the prayer card that we made for our trip to Equatorial Guinea. But the Lord closed that door. In spite of more than 2 months of trying to get visas, we were never granted visas for Equatorial Guinea. So we made the decision to go to Cameroon instead, but that meant that several of the students couldn't go. So when we finally went, there were 4 students and teachers from UCLA that accompanied me to Cameroon. We traveled from McAllen, Texas to Atlanta, to Paris, and finally arrived in Douala, Cameroon on Wednesday, August 10th. Douala is there on the coast. After a few hours of sleep, we left for Bamenda, which is one of 2 provinces that is English-speaking. We crossed back into the French-speaking area at Ngaoundéré. We traveled north through Maroua to Makari and then back south to Ngaoundéré. We traveled to Fumban, Bafoussam, and then to the extreme south of Cameroon to the city of Abolava, and finally back to Douala. To give you an idea of what that looks like, that's like traveling through almost the entire country of Mexico in 23 days. The Lord provided for us in marvelous ways. For example, we arrived in Douala on Wednesday. 2 days earlier, a missionary from our church in Greenville had left Cameroon. She left her blue pickup truck at our disposal for the entirety of the trip. Also, the day we arrived in Douala, missionary pilot Tom Needham flew down from Bamenda because someone else was leaving the country. So he ended up taking the 3 ladies of our team back with him in the airplane. In Bamenda, we participated in camp ministry, church, kids ministries, and vacation Bible school. It was interesting for our students to see the camp there in Africa. It was the week of our church camp in Mexico, and we saw a lot of things in common. I preached Sunday morning in a remote town an hour south of Bamenda, and Yvonne gave a testimony. On Monday, we helped with Bible school at a church in town. Again, it was striking the similarity between Vacation Bible School in Mexico, or America, or wherever you are. From Bamenda, we traveled to Ngaoundéré, and from there north to Makari, where we made visits in Muslim villages, did some repairs, and had a ministry with the missionaries themselves. Since we hopped from Bamenda to Ngaoundéré in the airplane, we traveled north on the bus. Northern Cameroon is dry, flat, with sparse vegetation. Yet we still recommend insect repellent no matter where you are in Africa, since the mosquito is Africa's deadliest animal. We paused one morning to visit a game park where we saw giraffes and other strange wild animals. Oh no, wait, that's Yvonne. That's one of our team members. Never mind. Continuing north towards Makari, we traveled on the only highway in the area. On the left of the highway, you can see wood that has fallen from a truck that rolled over. More prominent is the truck on the right side of the road. I believe it was carrying gas, and it too was about to tip over. We passed on foot as our bus drove by. Traveling in the far north is very difficult. Now we've left the highway and are out into the mud in an area where there basically are no roads. Normally there's no water or grass around, but we were there in the rainy season when travel is sometimes impossible. You can't drive where there's grass because that's a swamp with no bottom. The missionary, Zane Bachman, got out to see if we could make it through where the big trucks had made huge ruts in the path. During our visit to the Bachman family, their daughter Charity turned 7. So we taught her the Mexican custom of taking a big bite out of the cake. All kids love that. One of the things we wanted to do was be a blessing to the missionaries as we traveled. We had brought with us a suitcase and a half full of goodies for the missionary kids. We prepared 12 bags of treats for the wives and 42 bags for the missionary children. We prepared that when we first arrived in Bamenda. So when we got to the Bachmans, we were able to carry on the Mexican tradition of giving every child at the birthday party a bag of treats. For the Bachman children who don't get very many treats up there in the desert, it was very special. We also went out with the Bachmans to visit the Muslim communities. The far north of Cameroon is very poor, very hot, very dry, and a very difficult environment. The Bachmans have been serving there for 11 years. They have a church of people from Chad that meets in their home, but their primary focus is reaching the Muslims. They learned Arabic to target that group. But after 11 years of faithful service, they still have yet to see their first Muslim convert. But the Bachmans continue to evangelize them faithfully. The testimony of their faithfulness in these extreme conditions was a great challenge to the team. On the way back to town, a pulley seized up on the power steering belt, so it began to squeal. We removed it and kept on traveling. After 2 days of retracing our steps southward to Ngaoundé, we went to Fumban, where we participated in various ministries with the missionaries there. We were thankful for the pilot who saved us 4 days of travel and made our trip north possible. This young man is a believer. He's been saved for 4 or 5 months. We met him at the camp in Bamenda and then visited him at his home in Fumban. None of his 11 brothers or sisters nor his parents are saved, but in spite of many obstacles, including his blindness, he has been growing spiritually. One of the prisoners on death row asked the missionaries in Fumban to visit his grandmother because she was sick. They are Muslim, and we had the opportunity to preach the gospel in that village too. We participated with them too in a new church plant there near Fumban. We spent one night in Bafoussam, where 2 missionary families had arrived only 2 weeks before. They recently turned over their work to a national pastor and were beginning again from scratch. From there, we went south to Ebolova, where we spent our last weekend. The church is in a village of approximately 300 people. The ministry here is unique in that no foreign missionary workers are participating. They have built the church themselves, and a man from the village is the pastor. These dear, faithful African believers are the remnant of missionary work done in southern Cameroon over 150 years ago. They are carrying on the work with really no help from outside. They told us that actually, the day we were there, very few people were in attendance. That morning, I taught Sunday school. We helped with the cleaning of a building where 2 Sundays after we left, they began a new church plant. This group is currently planting 3 churches and has at least 10 to 15 works established. It was a tremendous encouragement for us as a team to see the faithfulness of these African believers in spite of not having any help, anybody from outside, or really any formal training. From there, we returned to Douala, where we visited a couple of missionary families who have a seminary that they started a couple of years ago. We saw once again the influence of faithful missionary families. It was remarkable how many solid works the Lord has raised up there through his faithful servants. When Moses said to the Lord that if his presence didn't go with him, he wasn't interested in going on from Sinai, it was because God had just given him this promise: "My presence shall go with thee." This is the promise that we have as we serve the Lord, in spite of changes, in spite of obstacles or delays. During this month in Cameroon, we certainly were able to see God's presence with us. We ask you to pray that the Lord would use this trip in the lives of those who went, and as we give reports here in Mexico, to challenge people to serve God, believing that his presence is with them.